Hey, everybody, Thomas here. So today, not a whole lot going on after I got back home from work or anything. I've been sitting here for a while, been needing to cut these logs and everything. So one of our friends, his grandkids went to a school over in Florida, and the school cut down a tree, and that tree they wanted to turn into something. So these are some live oak logs. I have a pile of about 8 of these logs. Nothing really big. They're all greater than 4 foot. But I want to say one thing about a mill like this. Where your vertical log stops go up and down, it allows you to cut a log like this a little bit more accurately than if you didn't have these. If you have the swing type arms, you would have one, it'd be a weird angle, like right here. So I'd be grabbing right there. But this one right here, I would barely be grabbing on here. But by having these vertical log stops, it really does help to secure that log on there. Now I have this piece of wood on here because the orientation of the log, I want to try to get my widest cuts on here. So these will be made into benches and stuff like that for the school. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on a time lapse. This is going to be a lot of cutting. This is going to be kind of slow because they're small and it's live oak and they're just hard as can be. Now I have a blade on here that doesn't have a whole lot of life. I've cut the cherry, I cut a few pine logs and a few other things, but luckily, as you can see next to my leaf blower there, Robert sharpened up 4 more blades for me. Now we are practicing social distancing because Mr. Robert's a little bit older, but you know, he'll drop off my blades and I'll get over here and start cutting. And yeah, so hope you enjoy. Go ahead and throw on a little time lapse here of cutting these logs, and then we'll show you kind of what some of the inside of these things look like. Again, this is southern live oak. I've cut it once before. It is very hard, and we'll see how the limbs turn out. I bet you they're gonna be hard too. Okay, so I've saved this last log here to do the actual real-time cutting. This is the largest log section that I have. It's roughly 19 inches wide by 16 inches tall. That's roughly, because it's kind of an oblong shape and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this up real time so you can see. I'll make my initial cut on top, get a good reference point, flip it over 180, do a few more cuts, and possibly flip it back, or if everything's looking good, maybe just go ahead and cut it all the way down. So without further ado, here we go. So that's a good, example of what happens when a blade breaks. So the first thing you do when a blade breaks, you have to have your control and actions. My first thing I did is hit that clutch. You got to turn that clutch off. This is probably the first blade break I've ever had on film. You sometimes feel like it's going to happen. I kind of felt like it was going to happen on this blade. The reason this blade has probably been sharpened 6 times. So it was running towards the end of its life. So I quickly turned off that clutch. Now it's time to assess the damage. So I'll go ahead and adjust this camera, use this while I can as a educational video now. All right, so I'm going to turn off that water. Oh, the kids are fighting because, all that good stuff. All right. The first thing you assess is how the blade broke. And this is really weird because it's all kinked up in here. So what you want to look at, so clearly we have a break right here. I'm always checking my belts and everything. Your belts, the wheel belts and everything, you want to make sure you go over them quite well and make sure that they're all clear. So the reason you want to disengage that clutch as soon as possible is because that one over there, the drive wheel, is still spinning. And as you can see, this blade, if it was still moving like that in there, if it caught on that thing while it was turning, you could suck this sucker back through there and then it'd be a no bueno situation. So let's go ahead and take this sucker off. It's all kinked up in here. Now the hard part about this is this blade, as sharp as can be because it was just sharpened. So you got to be very careful not to cut the crap out of yourself. Oh, it's a good one. As you see, it's all kinked up in here. There we go. But that's why sawmills have these big box things around them, so you don't blow up a blade into your face or those around you. Also, it's not seen in the video, I don't think you can see it, but on the chute side here, they have these little metal bars that come down. A lot of people remove those bars. I've known of 2 people, one on a Facebook group, and the other one is one of my buddies up the road. Those bars are there for a reason. When a blade breaks, if it's got enough momentum and if it's clearing through the log or anything, it can shoot through that exhaust like that. So you never want anyone on that side of the mill while you're cutting, and you never really want to take those bars out. Yes, I understand those bars do cause sawdust buildup, but it's really not that bad of a check to do every so often to make sure, your sawdust is clear. So, all right, let's continue getting this sucker out. I don't know. I'll probably have to back the mill up. Maybe, we'll see. It would be smarter if I backed the mill up, but I'm gonna take it out in place here. I think. Yeah, this thing's got a big old kink in it. In fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and break the blade right here. Maybe. The blades typically don't break on their welds. I have seen it happen once before, I think, but we'll see. Yeah, I can't break it right here in this situation. So I'm just gonna go ahead and back the mill out. Go from there. All right. The good thing is that was on the first cut of this log, so it wasn't like really, like the most beautiful cut ever. I hate it when this happens on a really beautiful log, beautiful like middle of the best part of the cut. But I was fortunate enough that it happened right as it's entering the log on the first cut. All right. It's trash. So I'm just going to go ahead and feel around the wheels, make sure there's nothing there. Also a good time to clean out all the crap on the... So here's one thing it did do. It did hit my water delivery system here, the little adjustable piece, but it appears nothing broken, it just moved it off to the side. Alright. Also, I'm going to inspect the log to make sure I didn't hit a rock. I didn't think I did. It felt like it was just a clean break due to fatigue on the blade. That's the thing about this mill though, it is so big, you've got to like walk around it to do anything. Now on this side, the side that where it broke and everything, again I'm going to check the wheel. I have a slight fray in my belt right here. That's actually where the two pieces come together, so it's not from this break, it was there earlier. But I'm just going to check my drive belt, make sure I don't see any nicks or gouges, and it looks pretty good. So yeah. That was a blade breaking on the Timber King 2000 while in action. Again, that blade, I don't actually know how many cuts I did in that blade, or how many sharpenings. It was probably in the neighborhood, like I said, of about 6 or so. And that was actually one of the blades that I was using to cut up the other live oak with for Mr. Robert. So, you know, that blade had seen its good share of wood. It's time to move on to blade heaven, so I can start a new blade on there. In fact, I'm not even going to start a new blade. I'm going to start another blade that's been sharpened a number of times. So hopefully I don't have that same situation take place. I don't think I will. Hopefully not. But, you know, you get these feelings, and I just felt like that blade was going to break. So I hope this has been a good video for y'all. This is something different. And again, I think it's the first time I've ever seen or had a blade break while on camera. I think I've had one break while I was doing a time-lapse, but not while live action. So, yeah. Now I'll go ahead and load a new blade on there. In fact, I'll go and show that since I got you here. Pretty easy. So the biggest thing with these blades, now I'll show you this blade right here. This is a blade that Mr. Robert has sharpened for me. It has seen a fair bit of use, but it's sharp as can be. He does a fantastic job sharpening everything. I'm going to go ahead and reuse this blade because I want to get the maximum life out of a blade as I can. And really, it doesn't hurt anything if it breaks on there, as long as you're not, you know, blowing the blade up into your belts. So, I'm going to put this new one on there. What I do when I open them up and everything, I'll find a nice flat piece of ground and throw the blade, because when this thing unravels, imagine all those sharp teeth getting into your hands. It's not cool. I'm going to step off camera for 1 second and throw this out. You can probably hear it. Alright, and so now my blade has been thrown. My wheels are clean. Move my other wheel over. I should be good to go to put her on there. Again, this mill is so large, you kind of have to work on both sides, but I think I can get it on there. Most everything on this side, with the exception of closing the door. And what I do with the blade is you want to make sure you have it where the back of the blade is essentially on the back of the wheel or back of the belt. And that's pretty close, and it'll find the way it tracks and everything. I never really had an issue on Timber King mills with tracking. I did have an issue on my old wood miser a few times with tracking, but that was due to some other things that were off in the mill. All right. Have to loosen off a little bit more. Going the wrong way. Good job. The other loosen. And another thing, I've said this on a few of the groups and everything. I think I said this when I had my 1400 mil. I'm a big fan of using the B57 belts. Yes, there is a little slop in the belt, but that's so much easier to try to get those belts on there, and the performance, I haven't noticed any difference in performance. So B56 is what they come with, but a B57 belt through Browning, or I'm trying to think of the other company, but Browning is one of the ones I've used. I know there's Gates and there's someone else, but B57 is a good belt. So look on the other side, put that on there, and we'll go ahead and tighten the sucker down. And again, I'm trying to get good content out there, usable content, content that people enjoy. So if you have anything you want to see, or you have questions about the mill, I know one guy asked me what type of blades do I run. I need to get back to commenting on his comment, but I run the Timber King blades. It comes with a set of the regular blades, but I run most of the Ultramax blades. I find that they sharpen up really well. They've got those heat treated tips. They last a little bit longer than anything else. I've also seen some people ask about carbide belt or blades. I don't see the point of that unless you're cutting something that has a lot of metal in it. They're very, very expensive. But to each their own. I really would have no interest in using a carbide blade. I'm pretty content with these Timber King Ultramax blades. I've also run Cook's blades before. They are a fine blade. And when I had my Wood-Mizer, I ran Wood-Mizer blades. All blades are about the same. I haven't really noticed anything different. My buddy Robert actually uses a company that custom makes his blades. I believe they're like out of Georgia or something like that. But that's it in a nutshell, and I can't leave you hanging. I gotta go ahead and cut up this log the rest of the way. At least I'll do at least one cut, and I'll show you what the inside of the wood looks like. And we'll call it a video, because this has been a long one, and I apologize for the length, but I think this is some good stuff. Going back out, Tommy? I gotta remember, so I just turned my water on, but I gotta adjust my little thingy for the water delivery system. And when I run in my water, a lot of people run diesel and stuff like that. My buddy Mr. Robert always ran diesel, but plain old water. Cut a lot of pine, maybe a little pine saw in there. But right now I'm running water with a little bit of Dawn in there. It seems to do a pretty good job of keeping things clean. If you run just plain water, you get quite a bit more buildup, but sometimes when you don't have a lot of soap, that's what you do. Here we go. All right. Essentially a great off test of the new blade that I put on there, and then I will show you what the log looks like where my blade broke. You probably won't even see much. And you really can't see much because this mill, ooh, got sawdust on my face. This mill does a great job of going back to where you last cut. you know, since I didn't move anything up and down. So as you can see, I broke the blade somewhere in this region right here, and you can see the set was off a little bit, so maybe that blade was working a little bit harder than it should have. And then you see after that, pretty even set. So either the blade life was, you know, it was fatigued beyond its life and everything because it had been sharpened 6 or so times, and then compounded by maybe the set was slightly off, could have led to this. But after that smoothed out, this last cut was gorgeous. As you can see, take a look at that like squiggly, swirly grain there. Live oak looks great like that. These branches are just loaded with this, and I'll try to throw some pictures in at the end here that show what these boards look like after I've got them cut up and laid out there in the sun. But all right, hope this has been enjoyable. It's always fun on the mill. You never know what's going to happen. I think I have 4. So next to the big tree, well, little tree out there, the tree out there, I've got 4 more of these little logs. There's the littlest ones left. So for a total of 8 logs for my buddy. I'll get those finished up today, and then I can start working on the long-awaited shop. So again, the shop's going to be over there behind Tommy's four-wheeler, that big, you know, patch of brown ground over there. I've been talking with Jack, I've been talking with others on kind of like what my plan of attack is. I'm just going to start cutting wood tomorrow. A lot of 2x8s, 2x10s, 2x6s, and we'll see what comes up. All right, have a good one. We'll see y'all around. Thanks. 2 nice slabs that came off the mill. This is a log with 1.5 inch spacing. I cut most of them at 1.5 inch. Another log with some water added to it. And the final count here was 55 slabs. Not too bad.